Got fountain drinks and they got all this canned beer and stuff.
Oh,
Got unsweet tea.
oh Lord, no, we don't do that.
Huh?
I rather we don't do that. You know where this is? We're in the South. Let me just get a fountain drink. Let me get a fountain drink.
It is not the Walkman.
Clothed in a suit of invulnerable armor and possessing the world's greatest secrets of science and magic, he returned to his homeland.
Benedict College alumnus and Professor Sanford Greene showcased his work during an art exhibit at Benedict College tonight. The graphic novel artist has worked with Marvel in the Black Panther comic series and recently released his newest series, Bitterroot. We spoke with Greene about how the graphic novel will soon be heading to the big screen with the help of Marvel's Black Panther producer and director Ryan Coogler.
It's quite overwhelming in an awesome kind of way, but I'm very grateful to know that someone of his caliber was interested in doing our series. What was so encouraging is that he reached out to the movie studio. Usually the movie studio is the one that reaches out, but he was a fan before anything of the actual comic series. So that has been just the humbling, exciting thing.
I'm trying to get out of here and just let the work start, because I mean, in all honesty, a lot is riding on this thing, and I'm not talking from a monetary standpoint. I'm talking about a cultural significance standpoint.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's all black creators doing a book based on from the setting of the Harlem Renaissance time period. So there's a lot of interest in that, in those two aspects alone. I had a speaking engagement last night at the local museum. You know, about 200 people there, and you know, I gave the premise to the story, and it was like you could just hear the excitement, the buzz, and the energy that came from the room, and I was just like, man, you know.
I think that's, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that should make you, I'm sure it does make you excited.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, you know,
it makes you excited, but it also makes you go, all right, you better not.
yeah, sure. You gotta bring your A game.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, the other side of that though is that, like, you know, I guess it would be worse if nobody cared.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, oh, okay, that's nice.
Right, yeah.
You got one of those kind of feedbacks. You get that kind of feedback, then it's kind of like,
It's pretty important that you, like, still live in South Carolina in a way.
yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
like, I just imagine, like, even if you're not actively going around, like, taking every little kid that wants to be an artist under your wing, it's really important to see, on some level, to see those people around, you know, or know that they're around.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's always the thing that I get whenever people reach out to me. So you live here? You know, it's like that whole thing. They're like, you live? Wow. And it's like, it hits them like a ton of bricks that, you know, you really can do this then. It makes it really, it's tangible. Like you said, it's possible. But even now, I can go back to my hometown and, you know, you still see tractors. You
Yeah.
still see, you know, farm guys farming. You still see, you know, things of that nature. And, you know, they're not necessarily concerned with the information age.
How much of an influence do you think that had in terms of, like, the escapism of, like, wanting to tell your own stories? Like, for me, it was essential.
Oh, it was absolutely essential. It was the thing. When I was about, 10, 11 or whatever, I would go with my mom to the local Kmart or whatever. And she would leave me. This is back in the days when you can leave your kid in the store and you'll feel okay. She left me over in a section, the toy section or whatever. And when I was over there, I noticed there was like this stand this kind of spinning. It had books on it.
Yeah.
The
Spinner
infamous, the infamous spinner racks. I just stood there. I'm looking at spinning the rack. I hadn't even taken the books off yet. I'm spinning it around because there were so many different titles. And my mom came back and saw me standing there with this look on my face. And it was almost kind of like she gave me the keys to the kingdom kind of thing. It was like, you want one of these? And I was like, oh, I can have one?
Yeah.
She don't usually put up offers like that. She said, yo, I'm going to get what I need to get out of the store, and we're jetting.
It's always funny to me how often it's somebody's mom.
Yeah.
It's
Moms are awesome.
Moms are the best gateway drug to comics.
They get you in and they take you out because they throw away your crap. I mean, you get back from college or whatever and, oh, I threw that junk out.
Part of like making things, I feel like, is just the desire to want to make them.
Right.
You know, you get like at every step of the way, you like look back and go like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, you know, a year ago.
Right.
Or maybe I don't know what I'm doing now, but I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And it's maybe more important than being so precious about getting things right.
Yeah. I used to be so anal about, it's got to look this way. It's got to be this way, or I got to have it this way, or go in this direction. And I'm looking back at it, I missed out on a lot of opportunities, I think, because I was so bent. And then I've gained a lot of opportunities once I kind of figured out, you know what, going in this direction professionally is not necessarily the end all be all. You know, let it go and let things just kind of happen organically. You know, I was chasing that thing for so long. And then I realized, you know what? Just focus on what you can handle. And that the only thing you can handle is your creative process.
It's exciting to not know what the fuck you're doing.
Well, shucks, you just need to keep doing comics then. I think that's all of us, you know, doing comics. That's what it's like. You come upon a new technique or something. You see someone like a Milton Caniff, and you see what he does. You're like, oh my God! And now you're enamored with that, and now you want to try to emulate some of that, and that's pretty exciting as well to try to pull in some of that kind of stuff.
I find, you know, I was telling Brian that like I woke up one morning after I did the first interview, you know, a couple days later thinking like, what am I doing? I don't have time for all this stuff. But I was like, I just know that there's something I want to learn how to do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I was like, it takes you a good 5-10 years to get good at anything. If I don't start today, like when am I going to start? So I was like, if I try now, I'll know in a year or two if I like it.
Yeah.
You know, or if it's a waste of my time or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to, I'm a huge, you know, you and I both know we're both fans of like hip hop and stuff like that, and I'm still interested in like DJing or producing.
Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of like you with filming. It's like this music side and art. I've always loved the combination. I always felt like it was seamless, natural. So I've always been interested in trying to do something like that. Regret, I think, is hell on earth, man.
You don't want to waste time doing something. Like you don't want to.
Right.
You don't want to pursue something frivolously or without intention. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
yeah.
There's a lot more room to breathe than just.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's being able to know that you have more than one lane, you have more than one option as a creator. You think about even someone like, that's why Frank Miller did what he did.
Absolutely.
You know, that's why Mark Miller does what he does. You know, it's like everyone, you know, you go down the list, the most successful creators, you know, they want to, they're visionaries. And I think every artist on some level, you know, they have some type of vision. It's just how much you're willing to put in the work to go there.
Yeah.
You know, do you really want to, do you really want to put in that kind of work? And that's the thing that with me, there's days, I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm like, dang, why did I even, you know, like my animation studio, we just got well, recently we did a pretty big project for a video game company, and the game was one of those games like a Warcraft kind of thing, so it was huge budget. And so we looked at it as, you know, a tremendous opportunity for exposure, but I looked at it as, wow, I get to do something creative beyond the paper. I can do something from a multimedia standpoint. I've been fascinated with that since I was a kid. I was always, before comics, I wanted to do animation, you know, but
Well, there's
I realized what kind of work you needed to put into it, and I didn't have the resources. And like you said earlier, back at the house, it was much more attainable to pursue comics.
well, there's a myth that it's a ladder. The idea that like you do a comic so you can do other media, when in reality it's like even if you use comics as a stepping stone to do a film or a video game or whatever, because it's only a stepping stone because maybe it reaches more people and maybe it has a bigger budget, but the authorship and the thing that gives you the ability to do those things will always be making that thing that's close to you. You know, like making that thing that you, with a piece of paper and a pencil, can go like, here's some ideas.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that sketchbook is literally the lifeline.
Right. And once you understand that it's a loop and not a straight ladder,
right,
it you know, it really sort of mentally frees you to be a lot more creative and daring, I think.
But that's the thing. It's like, you know, I have the resources now to be able to do some of these very things that as a kid, you know, you only dream, you know, like, man, there's no way in the world I'll be able to do something like this, but wouldn't it be cool? So it's always been,
it goes back to that spinner rack, you know. It's like that was the first thing that you touched that you were like, oh, I can do this.
Right.
And there becomes a certain point where, you know, it's really hard to do this. And so for a lot of people get ground into dust trying to make sure that they do this in a way that is specific to what worked for somebody else.
Right.
Or what is specific to what worked for their idols. And it's like, I think it's more important to realize that this is a conduit to your ideas.
Right.
You know, rather than like, you know, I loved Frank Miller as much as anybody when I was a kid. And he certainly, like, seeing him succeed was a thing that stoked some ambition in me, but it's not who I want to be. I want to be me.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Right. But yeah, all those things, you know, everything from the music, you know, the visuals, you know, that we saw as kids, you know, all that stuff is definitely the building blocks.